Hey guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our workshop. Great. We good to go? Thank you. We're going to start with public comments. Oh, I didn't say the date. Today is Thursday, July 11th. It is 3 o'clock. We'll start with public comments. Citizens who desire to address the council on any matter listed on the workshop agenda may sign up to do so prior to this meeting. Public comments will be received during this portion of the meeting. Please limit comments to 3 minutes. No discussion or final action will be taken by the city council. And we have one person, Mr. Lytle, would like to speak.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Alan Lytle. I live here in Temple. A couple of items on the consent agenda I'd like to bring to your attention. You can actually do that because you get to the council meeting, all you do is say yes to the consent agenda. Item G, we're talking about the historic post office, which now houses several city offices. From its inception and from the time that I've known it, as very many different things, including once being at Temple Junior College, it has had very limited handicap access. In the back, there's only 2 parking spaces, and although it meets the legal letter of the handicap law, it really doesn't meet the spirit of it to have offices there that people with handicap may need to make use of. I would strongly suggest tabling that expense on that particular building that is now 124 years old, and finding someplace else for those folks and doing something different with that building. The other item on the agenda that concerns me is item K. And I understand we need the water tower in 2 acres, but $350,000 for 2 acres of land, over $150,000 a piece for an acre. It's not even an acre, so it's not even 2 acres. That seems a little excessive. The appraisal value is only $187,000 for both pieces of property. And I would like you to reconsider that, find some other way to take care of that need for a tower. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lytle. All right. Okay. On to the work session. Number 1, discuss as needed regular meeting agenda items for the meeting posted Thursday, July 11th. Is there anything anyone wants to discuss?
Bren, could you just talk very briefly about item K, location and why we're way over appraisal value?
Sure, and I might lean on Kathy's assistance, but this is for a project that is bringing water from the water treatment plant to the area that primarily Synergy Park and the neighboring residential areas in Southeast Temple. It's a 3-phase project, so it'll involve a transmission line from the water treatment plant to roughly 31st Street, and then 31st Street to 5th Street, which is actually underway at this time, that phase. And then from 5th Street to Synergy Park.
To Synergy.
This pump station is part of what will be constructed with the phase that goes from 5th Street to Synergy Park. And the location of the pump station is determined by the the engineering needs. It's limited of where it can go. And then and Kathy, please jump in if I say something incorrectly, but the process that we follow, as council is familiar with, is we are required to get an appraisal for the property. Appraisals can differ greatly from taxable appraised value. Those are really, they have similar sounding names, but can be 2 very different things. So our obligation is to go by an actual appraisal that's been conducted by an appraiser that's hired by the city, and then we negotiate with the property owner based on that appraisal. In certain cases, I don't think this applies. I don't think there's any homesteads or anything here, but in certain cases, there's also relocation. I don't think that that's the case here. And so the staff has reached an agreement with this property owner based on that appraised value, again, not the taxable
Right,
appraised
right.
value, but the appraisal that we received, that we feel like is within the direction that council has previously given us, to negotiate with. And so, we feel like based on the appraised value that this is a fair, compensation for the property that we need, for this project.
Thank you. Thanks, Jessica.
I'm prepared to have Belinda make some comments on G if needed, on the historic post office and the air conditioning system.
Okay.
Just some brief comments. Belinda, can you address just briefly what our plans are with this building and for the future, and then what all this upgrade includes?
Yes, absolutely. Good afternoon. So this upgrade we've really been struggling the last 5 years or so with having reliable air conditioning that can be air conditioning or heating in this building. So this is the council agenda item tonight is to recommend basically a total upgrade of the HVAC system, the heating, air conditioning, cooling, and ventilation system. We're upgrading the duct, we're upgrading the cooling and heating and everything to it. It also includes an upgrade to the electrical components to the building, the main panel and so forth. It's not totally rewiring the building, but it is giving the building a much needed upgrade. With regards to Mr. Lytle's concern with regards to the handicap accessibility, we recognize that that is a challenge. However, we do also identify this building as a landmark in our city. And it's something definitely we have some opportunities to address in the future is the handicap accessibility and creating some better access point to the front of the building versus the accessibility being through the rear for someone that does have need assistance for getting into the building. So that is what staff's recommendation is at this point on this particular agenda item, is to proceed with preserving this asset. And about a month ago, you did authorize the upgrade of the roof, which was another improvement to this building that was much needed because we do have water infiltration issues to this building. But this is another step to getting this building up to where it needs to be a sustainable building from the standpoint of making it an office building that can be relied upon.
I would also add that regardless of the future use, even if we opted, if you directed and we opted to relocate offices from that building and use it for something else, unless you were going to shutter the building, which again, to Belinda's point, it's a downtown landmark, a historically significant building, then these improvements would be necessary regardless of the use of the facility. If it's being occupied for anything, it would need a functioning HVAC and electric system. And then one additional note to add on for Belinda's great explanation was we do have funding proposed in fiscal year 2027 in our capital plan for additional renovations to the historic post office, to be determined renovations, which could include accessibility improvement, and the reason that the timing is recommended there is in large part due to we would like to kind of have all of the offices settled in from any municipal building expansion, and so that we know for sure which offices will, with how that building will continue to be used in terms of offices or otherwise before we embark on significant interior or kind of layout configuration changes, which may impact ingress or egress or how the building might be accessed. So we would recommend making any accessibility or interior layout changes in the project that's currently scheduled for funding in 2027.
Great, thank you. Nothing like an old building. We've got a lot of them.
Pretty,
It is
it's
beautiful.
expensive.
It is. All right, we'll move on. Is there anything else? Nope. Okay, I'll move on to item 2, receive departmental updates from Public Works. I think Colton and Richard are gonna Step up to the plate.
Really, those are very good questions because they were lengthy answers. Okay, so quarterly update this is for engineering and Colton. Not a hard act to follow, so which is fine. This is the current staff for engineering. See in the lower right-hand corner, Dalton Anderson is shown in just to highlight that he's our newest engineer. He comes to us from the private sector, but he also has a background with public sector works. His father was transportation superintendent. But he hit the ground running. He's a PE. Just didn't miss a beat, so he has a full share of it. And I did see the filed budget. We had another engineer slated for this upcoming year, so that's a good thing for us.
Real good.
I hit the wrong spot. But so a couple weeks ago, when we were first slated to present, I had James Billick queued up to go over the capital improvement projects. He decided to go on vacation in the meantime. So, and I remember Mayor Davis said we better be ready for a really good presentation since we got more weeks, but since he's not here and James isn't here, this is what we're gonna get. This is a Temple Belt and wastewater treatment plant. It designs at 95%. It says bidding later this year, construction 65 million at the time of the slide with 24 to 30 months. The capacity of the plant now, I think Colton told me, was 10 MGD on average daily flow basis. This will take it to 16 with a max day of somewhere around 50 MGD.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
On back up one, Richard. On the letter that was sent to TCEQ, have you heard or any word on whether that will be? They'll just do the review, or they're going to require the whole plan review?
I've not heard.
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Thank you.
Look at Colton can speak to the parallel permitting process.
Yeah, we fosters.
Downtown City Center Phase 2. I've changed the dates for completion on this twice in the last couple of weeks. It seems, it's downtown, it's old. Had an email today from David Patrick stating that TBRE found an underground storage tank in the street. So we're going to be taking a look at that to see if it's on base and remedial action.
Sidewalk. It's a sidewalk,
And the sidewalk.
that's what I heard.
Richard, is there anything we can do to help this store? She's really having a hard time. This consignment store, her customers have dropped off. It's very, very hard to get there in one piece.
Your street.
That's all we can do at this
At
point.
this point.
Okay, thanks.
And James did speak to the folks a little bit, so. I think at the time completion was June, sometime in July. See how it moves, I guess.
Do you recall who found the tank?
He was Turner Baron James.
Yeah, sorry. Yes, Turner.
So this is in the way of their construction.
It's in the way of their hookup, my understanding, for their water or something.
Hookups that we're finally agreed on.
That's right.
Now there's something else. So this covers some of the same items, coordinating with TBRE, coordinating with Central Plaza, fence removals. Don't know if that's gonna happen. Hopefully still have a finish in 2024. So one of the other items that came up was we found groundwater, installing utilities out there. Groundwater or water leak. The last thing we want to do is cover it up if it's a water leak. never been stopped. It came in place to put a trench drain in between. Through the parking lot, this is something we're helping Belinda with. This is Dalton's project. So this first one starting from scratch with us, and he's doing a great job. You see there's a preliminary configuration for the parking lot. There's an entrance off of Barton and one off Fifth Street, and they're both going to be controlled with gates. I think, and we're going to add a man gate to the north to the fire department. That was a good suggestion from Mr. Wilson.
And that's the old bank building, right? The drive-through
Yes, the
bank.
drive-through bar. And our contractor is going to demo that. Try to push it off on Beaufort,
But I pushed it back.
but you read it.
I have
You read the
enough in there.
contract.
That's right, I have enough to tear down.
Okay. Oh, and then my favorite slide, you notice there are no dash lines for completed projects. And yes, I did that myself. And this is, this West Temple, I think maybe we probably should do one for the East Temple area also, because those projects are starting to add up. There's a lot going on, and there was an issue just today on the West Outer Loop. Phase 1. And contractor hit an encore overhead power line. PD had to go and shut down the road for this back open. And I drive, I try not to drive these streets out here, but every once in a while I do, just to see just how bad they are. And I think for what we're looking at, what we're doing, it's working pretty well. People got to leave the schools out. So we're fortunate there. Kegley. So council did award the contracts. Last I heard from Sharon, we were still working through the contracts on the process. So NTP hasn't been issued. We still do expect to try to issue one this month. So when this one closes, maybe all the happiness come to it.
The first part of it is so nice.
You promised that just gonna.
Maybe you should just put construction beginning July 24, not put through October of 25. People just want to jump in off a cliff when they read that.
Y'all will see a related agenda item on the 18th. It's
I'm sort of joking, sort of.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe we put 26 on there and that's surprise.
Oh, Richard.
This meeting has the railroad crossing thing on it too.
It does, yeah, $500,000
Right.
being the south.
And
Will
one
that be-
time.
Yeah, will that be a much improved crossing?
Better be for $500,000.
It'll be wider.
Okay.
I mean, it'll be wider, but it's still gonna be a railroad crossing. Barnhart Road under construction in conjunction with TISD. It says by the end of July that the first stage will be done, and that's just a partial access to the school bus parking lot. The entire road. Completion will be April of 2025. And that also includes the Little River Road section. I do drive this one every day because that's the way I go to and from work, so I go through the detour. Subdivision seems to be working well also.
Are they opening the school in the fall?
Yes.
I think they just sent out the grand opening invitation today, so
Okay.
it will hit our mailbox soon.
And it doesn't show on here, but one of the good things about this detour, even though it goes through a constructed subdivision, there are no homes occupied on the detour. Present. North 42nd Street, one we don't talk about much. This one, north is to the right. It's an area with a lot of planning and construction plans for residential subdivisions. You can see on the west side, on the top side, there are a lot of lots shown. Nothing's been started as far as construction on those. There's some activity north of Hillcrest Road that we're looking at. One other question, sorry. Any questions?
Yeah.
All right, so the first three, or the first five blue bullets here, you'll see, these are three water line projects that utilities has either completed or underway. The utility staff has identified these through just everyday work orders. You know, these lines here had multiple leaks, they, you know, water quality issues. So the first one, 41st Street there, is complete. You'll see second on the 10th. It's been designed and it's about to start. And then 33rd is under design now. APWA accreditation was given, passed. I think everybody knows that. The sewer basin project that RJN has been doing for the last 5 years, so they finally finished up their last basin. They sent their findings to utilities. It's been in engineering, everyone else. It's been looked at, it's improved. And on the next slide, we'll talk about some of the actions we're going to take to rectify some of the issues they found. The revised lead and copper rules of TCEQ sent all water systems out essentially a letter saying that we have to inventory all homes built before 86, because 86 was the year that they banned lead service lines. So utilities has completed that. They sent that in, so they've met the requirements there. Now we just kind of wait to see what the next step is. Questions?
You have to inventory every home?
Just the ones built before 1986.
Right, but what does that mean? Inventory the
So-
pipes into the home?
Yeah, so from the meter into the house, yes.
Do the homeowners know that this has been going on?
Yes, and I don't know the intricate details because I'm not super involved in utilities day to day, but this is sort of what I know about it. And I can get you further information on it.
No, I don't need, I just live in a house way before 86 and
Oh, okay.
I don't think anything has been surveyed.
Oh,
At least that I would know about.
Feel okay?
What I'm saying is it noticeable when they come out and do something?
Well, so a lot of these are, so a lot of these, it's like, a lot of these were already in our system, our GI system, so we already know that now. They
Okay,
had to do some investigative work for some other homes that we weren't
Okay.
sure about. But
that's fine.
Susan, I actually don't know whether we're doing any kind of engagement with the property owner or
Okay.
the resident. So I just know we've been working on it from a technical standpoint, like Holden was saying.
Fine.
Yeah, my home's pre-86 and I didn't hear anything, so either.
So.
Did they
sorry.
notify you? Do you feel okay?
So the next bullets here, these are the subsequent actions we're taking as part of the RJN sewer basin assessment. So some sewer pipe bursting that's being funded through an EPA grant. And I do not know what that grant amount is, and Don may know, or.
I think it's $1 million. I'll look.
I think you're right, Tracy.
Also some manhole lining. A lot of manholes were identified to have a lot of I&I, so they're going through. They've already started some of that work. Also, we've contracted with RJN to do the same thing for our water system as well. So go through our water system, identify any aged pipes or anything like that. Check the integrity of our system essentially. This here is some work that our utility staff is doing on their own. And this is actually a really good project. I'll call out Daniel, our utilities director. He's done a good job sort of identifying issues between pressure planes. So when you have pressure planes that are bleeding into each other, say, the very top from North Temple bleeding down all the way to, here, this part of town, you're adding 20, 30 PSI, 15 or so, and it causes leaks and whatnot. So he's gone through and he's identified these problems with these PRVs. They're going through rebuilding these and sealing some of those leakages up. So that's just what his staff is doing there.
You know what a PRV is, Susan?
Oh, of course.
It's a pressure regulating
I
valve.
have not a clue.
Yeah, it's a pressure regulating valve, so you can have water flowing through that, but it'll keep the pressure higher on one side than the other, and you can dial it in specifically.
Thank you.
All right, treatment. So kind of going back to what Richard was talking about earlier with the expansion. These are kind of twofold here. The Temple Belton plant. This is really geared towards TB, not so much Dozier. The ammonia violations, we're having issues at the Temple Belton plant meeting our ammonia permit. Most of that is because of the growth and development we've seen, and we haven't caught up to that. Now, as Richard showed, we're at 95% in design phase for the expansion, which will rectify that. However, we were pushed back 2 years because when we submitted to have a new permit, when they sent it back, we had a 1.0 phosphorus limit. And we do not have the ability to treat phosphorus currently. So we had to go back and redesign and add a treatment technique to remove phosphorus. So that pushed us back a couple years. So once the design is complete, construction is complete, it will alleviate those ammonia issues. Membrane plant is complete. It's built, it's up, it's running. We can run full capacity, but we cannot use the UV disinfection part of it. We're at the final stages of approval, and this is through TCQ. So we've sent them stuff, they've approved it, said okay, and then they'll come back the next day and say, wait, no, we missed something. So basically what's going on here is we are the first treatment plant in Texas to get approval for log removal with UV only. So typically you have a conjunction of chlorine dioxide, ozone, chlorine. We can meet all of our virus removal with UV only, which has never been done before. So they're having a hard time figuring out how they're going to get us to report it, what they want us to report. So they're sort of struggling, but we've submitted everything that they've asked for a couple of weeks ago. The first stage, they were good with this. Now we're in the final stages of approval there. We should get that any day, hopefully. And that will alleviate a lot of our physical impact too, which I know Jennifer and Sherry are ready to put me in a headlock over. Also, we have successfully completed 8 months of the TOP program. I don't know if anybody knows what that is, heard about that. Okay, so the TOP program stands for Texas Optimization Program. There's only 17 treatment plants in the state of Texas enrolled in this, and Temple is one of them. So we enrolled in this back in November, and essentially you have to meet higher standards than everyone else. We've achieved those standards for 8 months straight. And then after 12 consecutive months, TCQ will come out to a council meeting, and they'll give a speech about the program, and they'll present the city with a flag that says we've achieved this. And it's kind of a cool deal. It's a really prestigious program.
So Colton, which treatment plan is that?
This is actually only for the conventional side. So, and we're one of 17.
Across the state.
Mhm.
Wow. How did we get to be one of 17?
Because I emailed them and asked if we could do it, and so we had to,
Good for you.
and we had to prove that we could do it for 2 months, and we did. So I said, okay, go ahead.
Very
Because
good.
Colton's awesome. That's
That's the answer.
Okay,
He makes such good water that they want to bottle it here.
that's right. Yeah. Okay, this is just some photos of some of the massive flooding we had
Ugh.
from the rain. So actually, this is that's looking west. So the Leon River's right here. Our treatment plant's right here to the right,
Right.
and it came up from the river all the way up that high. I mean, those that have been there know how much of a decline there is.
Yeah.
And it's just another photo here after the video. It actually gets. You see that tank on the far right there? If you look at the next picture, look at that. It went worse. Got worse.
I guess whoever's taking the video had to get out of
Yeah.
like they were standing in the first video.
She could send some of that water down to the Frio.
Yeah, right. We did not haul any sludge that day. We just let it go. This is just a photo of a manhole overflowing, and this is kind of backs up some of the work that RJN did and our utility staff has done, and to rectify some of these situations like this. Just an overview of the work orders this last quarter, and the work that's been done. 1454 work orders, leak repairs, 122 sewer work orders, 2357, SSOs 13, and a large majority of those were because of the heavy rains we saw the last couple months. Mains cleaned out, and mains inspected, CSIs 91, log inspections 94, water quality samples 364, lines flushed 1217, and staffing rate is at 96%. And some new licensed operators we have. I have a couple on here. Paul's one of my staff. He got his A water. Most of these are Daniel's staff members here. Distribution collection.
He's a pretty big deal. How many A operators do you have there?
I've got 7 now, maybe.
That's great.
They didn't really value it before. So like, Kali, he passed his B, one of my staff, and then the others are all Daniel's staff there, distribution collection. So everybody's doing a really good job. This is one of Daniel's foremen here, passed his A as well. This photo here, I wanted to talk about this. So this tree uprooted here in this lady's yard during the tornado. And so in the midst of that, a lot of trees were uprooted everywhere. So we're going around shutting off meters because service lines have been, blown up and whatnot. So at some point hers was cut off, a couple weeks later, city staff, these are all utility staff here. They went by on the volunteer day to cut up trees and all that. So they're cutting up this tree in her yard, and she got to talking to him, and she wasn't complaining, but she said, yeah, that tree uprooted my line. They cut my meter off and I haven't had water for 2 weeks. But she wasn't complaining. She just, I don't know if she didn't have the funds to pay for a plumber or whatnot. Anyway, the staff had parts on hand. They fixed it for her.
That is so good.
Any questions?
How many people in your staff have an A in water and an A in?
Just me.
Double A.
Anything else?
I don't think so. Thank you so much.
That's me, Joe.
Go on, let's hear
I
them.
don't know if you want to hear.
Are they not appropriate? All right.
Ask them to me during the other.
You probably heard. me.
Thank you both. We appreciate it. We're gonna move on to receive a presentation on the proposed FY 2025 business plan, including but not limited to an overview of the proposed FY 2025 annual budget.
My favorite presentation of the year. And I know it's y'all's too.
We love it.
So, as you know, as council knows, certainly by now, we present our annual budget in the context of a 6-year business plan. The foundation of our business plan is our strategic plan, which we are, as council also knows, we just went through a comprehensive process to update our strategic plan. So the business plan that you have before you today has the results of that process with all of the recommended adjustments that we worked through with our community groups as we undertook that endeavor over the last year. It also has our financial plan. So everything that is represented within the strategic plan, as you know, many of those initiatives require resources, whether those be staff time or other funding resources requirements in order to accomplish those initiatives. And so our financial plan is the portion of our business plan that identifies how we are going to fund the initiatives that are laid out in the strategic plan over the 6-year time frame. The annual budget portion of the business plan is the upcoming fiscal year. So this is the portion that you officially adopt that officially appropriates the upcoming year's annual budget, which is a requirement of our charter. And so that is how we comply with that, the annual budget portion. And then we also have our 6-year capital program incorporated as part of our budget plan, which we'll go through in more detail through this slideshow. You know that the reason that we approach our financial planning this way is because we don't like to present you one piece of the puzzle at a time. We want you to be able to understand how each action item that we bring you to consider, each project we ask you to consider funding, each policy that we present to you for your consideration. We want you to be able to understand how that links into the bigger picture that you have set, the vision that you have set for the community. So this is the way that we help to bring all of those pieces together and put them in one place so that it is clear how each separate resource begins to form the bigger picture that helps us accomplish the vision that council has set, which is that you want Temple to be a place you love to call home. You'll recall that this vision was adopted when we originally created the strategic plan in 2019. And while it's a short vision statement, it's also, in my opinion, a powerful statement because it is applicable not only to us as individuals, where we can have Temple be a place that we want to live and raise our families, but also to our business community, making Temple a place that our businesses and our industries also want to call home. I'm sure everyone has read the news of the recent addition or the upcoming addition to our industrial park. And when you talk to those folks, you hear them talk about one of the reasons that they wanted to locate here in Temple was because of the sense of place here, that the place they felt like they could make their home. And that's exactly what we're striving for. So that's wonderful to hear. Our mission is that we provide exceptional service without exception. You've heard me say many times that we, as an organization, we don't make things, we don't produce things, we're not in the business of really selling things. What we're here to do is provide services to our community. And so our mission is to do that in a way that exceeds expectations. We do that through our organizational values of commitment, innovation, integrity, accountability, and collaboration. And then the council has set for us 5 focus areas, those being high-performing organization, communication and collaboration, places and spaces, smart growth, and then a tweak, an update based on the work that we've done on our strategic plan this year is 5th area is health and safety. Previously was public safety and broadened out to better capture everything that was included in that focus area. Each of the focus areas has at least one goal associated with it. We have 9 total strategic goals, those being an organization committed to performance excellence, talented and dedicated employees who have a heart for service, empowered community leaders who foster collaboration, engagement, and participation, open and responsive communication with our community, a community that has beautiful spaces and unique experiences, and neighborhoods where people love to live, a healthy and safe community, infrastructure and systems that support exceptional services and community growth, and a city that supports well-managed growth and development to promote a thriving economy.
Hey, Bryn, just a
Yes,
sec.
ma'am.
Will you back up 1 minute? See, the second goal,
Yes, ma'am.
Colton's people just showed that
I
with
believe so.
that woman.
It's that's actually what I was thinking, and
Oh.
it's kind of, I think everyone gets tired of me saying it, so I bite my tongue, but that is a group of employees showing where their heart is, and it is to serve. They were there, they didn't even have to be there in the first place, and I didn't know that story until just now, but they volunteered to go out and outside of their normal responsibilities, even cutting up her tree limb, and then to use their expertise and their talents to help fix a problem for her with her water service. I mean,
2 weeks, no water. It's
amazing. Yes.
Colton, make sure they know that they hit number 2.
Okay, will do.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I do want to go through some of the highlights in the business plan. for the resources that are recommended in order to accomplish those 9 goals. And I've grouped them, as I normally do, by the 5 focus areas. So we'll start with high-performing organization and the first goal of an organization committed to performance excellence. So the first area that I wanted to highlight was our investment in technology. The business plan recommends our continued investment in strategic data and technology programs and services in order that we protect our mission critical infrastructure. Everything that we do these days seems to be tied to the cloud or some type of online services. So it's really important. This is really a foundational area of investment to be able to provide services to our community. The business plan recommends that we continue our 4-year cycle of replacing our police and fire mobile data laptops. It recommends a new document management system to replace what we use now, which is called Questies. And I don't think you'll find one employee who is loyal to Questies. I think Jana is the only one who knows how to use it.
And Laura.
Jana and Laura. And then we also are recommending a new financial management system in a future year of the plan as well. In addition to those major software program updates, the plan also includes a little over $2 million in investment in other essential software and technology programs, including much of the focus of that investment is on cybersecurity, technology and measures and programs, because that is obviously a very significant area of concern for us, that we protect I can't think of the word I want to use. I'm sorry, that we protect the security of our financial and public safety and other systems from cybercrime. There's also staffing that is recommended in our information technology department to help implement these programs and support the programs that have been implemented. We are recommending an additional geographic information system or GIS analyst be added to the team, as well as an intern position. We're recommending a network support technician and a network analyst, a technical trainer, and an IT security administrator, and a project manager as additional staff throughout the 6-year plan for the IT department. We're also recommending that we undertake a GIS master plan so that we ensure that we are using best practices and that we have the right technology and staffing and also processes to keep up with that very important element of our organization. A lot of what we do now is GIS based, including the support for example, for Colton and his team in utilities. Their work order system is very heavily tied to GIS, as well as our planning and development areas, as well as many of the other areas that we rely on. We had a period of time where we had to rebuild a lot of our GIS mapping systems, and I think during that time we all grew a deeper appreciation for how often we reach for GIS when we didn't have it. At least for me, I recognize how often in my day-to-day work that I reach for and use GIS-based systems, and so a very important investment for us to make. We talked a little bit about this as we were discussing one of our consent agenda items, but the financial plan continues to recommend an investment in our many city facilities. We have a recommended facilities capital improvement program of approximately $34.5 million for a variety of facility related projects that are identified in the capital improvement program. We are also recommending that we continue the facility maintenance improvement program that we established last year. As council will remember, that was initial allocation of $250,000. And then we're growing that over time until we get to an optimal funding level of $1.5 million each year to invest in routine maintenance and improvements to our facilities. So things like routine HVAC replacement, roof replacements, carpet and paint, and other improvements that are needed on an ongoing basis within our facilities. We also have some staffing recommended in our facility services team, including an additional project manager and coordinator position to manage that capital improvement program. 2 building improvement technicians that would be tasked with doing in-house construction improvement projects, so smaller jobs that can be handled without the expense of contracting them out to an outside contractor, things like maybe reconfiguring interior walls within an office suite for updated access, things like that. We're also recommending an additional custodian crew and an energy manager and building maintenance technician position in a future year. We also, along with our facilities, we are also recommending that we continue to invest in our capital equipment, because that's another significant way that we provide services to our community. We have planned approximately $50 million in capital equipment purchases and replacements over the 6-year period. We also have a recommendation for an additional automotive technician position and an operations manager, a fleet services foreman, and an inventory specialist in the fleet services department to help us continue to maintain our fleet as we continue to grow as a community and a city. We're also recommending heavy duty truck technicians be embedded within our departments that have significant fleets assigned to them. So we started this program, I believe last year was our first year funding a heavy duty technician that's embedded in the solid waste program, in the solid waste division. That technician, it works closely with the fleet services department in order to do preventative maintenance and minor repairs of our solid waste trucks to keep them from having to go be placed fully in the fleet services shop. And Justin shared with me work orders recently from what that position has been able to accomplish, and it's really amazing. It's been a very successful program, and so we actually are recommending that we expand that with an additional technician in solid waste. We think we can keep 2 people very busy with our fleet, and we are also recommending similar positions in transportation services, in utility services, and then a similar position in fire as well. Those are the departments that have pretty significant heavy fleets, and we believe that they would benefit from a similar program. We have a very strong and long history, thanks in very large part to Tracy and her team, of being a very financial stable and financially conservative city. We have a commitment to continuing that past history and bringing that into our future. We do that, as council knows, through maintaining strong fund balance position, through our conservative budgeting practices, and our very strong AA bond rating. As you can see, some of the comments there from one of our latest bond rating reports. Much of that bond rating ties back to the work of our finance and accounting team in helping us make sure that we stay financially strong. So as we grow as an organization and we continue to support our growing community, we are proposing additional positions in the finance department to help us continue to make financial stability and financial conservative financial position a priority. So this includes the addition of 4 accountant positions, a budget and reporting manager, a financial systems analyst, a payroll analyst, and accounts payable specialist added to the finance, and the AP specialist would be in the purchasing department, which is also under Tracy's guidance. A new program that's proposed in this fiscal year, as you all received a briefing in the last few months from Heather on, is our new proposed customer care program. This team would be responsible for the creation of a comprehensive customer care program that would include a consolidated 311 call center. It would allow any resident within the community to just dial those 3 digits and reach a person who can help them with a variety of issues or questions or concerns that they may have related to city services. We are excited about this program because we believe that this really speaks to enhancing the customer focus that the customer and citizen focus that you all very much have and have provided to staff through your direction. We very much believe that an individual resident shouldn't have to be familiar with the city bureaucracy or how the city org chart is structured in order to get help from the right place. So we want to reduce frustration and improve access to help and services by having a one-call place where people can go to get help with anything that they might need from the city. To help support this, we are requesting 3 additional community solution specialist positions, be staggered in throughout a few years in our financial plan, a additional utility billing specialist, and then eventually an executive support specialist be added to the team to help support that new program. We're also recommending some additional positions to support our strategy and innovation team. As council may recall, this department has 3 main areas of focus, one being our performance and analytics department. This is one that you're very familiar with and has been was established, originally called Performance Excellence, and was tasked with keeping the commitment that I made to you in 2019, that if you spent time and energy to develop a strategic plan, that staff would take that very seriously and stay committed to following that strategic plan and be accountable to you and to the community on our progress in accomplishing the initiatives that were laid out by you all in the strategic plan and our key performance indicators, so that we are open and transparent with you and with our community on how we're performing and how we're progressing with the goals and the objectives that you set, not only now in our strategic plan, but in multiple subsequent master plans that have been developed from that strategic plan, including our neighborhood plans, but also things like our water and wastewater plan, our comprehensive growth plan, and there's many, many others, as you know. So this team is responsible for helping make sure that we're on track with our initiatives and that we are appropriately reporting back on our progress to the community. The next area that is under this team's direction is our process and innovation team. This team is near and dear to my heart because they will help me implement my red tape reduction team goals, which seeks to improve processes throughout our organization and make sure that we're being as efficient as we can be, that we are eliminating any red tape that might unnecessarily exist and stand in the way of someone doing business with the city or getting the services and support that they need from the city. And then last, this department also manages our legislative engagement efforts, which are going to be much more robust this year and going forward, and we'll provide some additional updates on that soon, I know, but we've been working heavily on this over the last few months, so I'm cautiously going to say I'm excited about that. I'll be excited until January, and then you'll hear me complain again. The next goal under our high-performing organization focus area is talented and dedicated employees who have a heart for service. We've already talked about this a little bit, but as I've mentioned, we are a service-based organization. That is what we do. We provide services to our community, and we provide services through our employees. So if we are to achieve our mission of providing exceptional services, then we have to find ways that we're successful in recruiting, training, developing, and retaining exceptional employees. Essentially, we want to be an employer of choice. We want the best and the brightest to want to work for the city of Temple. Unfortunately, there's no one thing that if you check this box, and you do this one thing that you'll achieve that goal. Being an employer of choice, in my opinion, comes with a variety of things that you have to do on a day-to-day basis in order to create a culture where you are attracting those employees who do have a heart for service and do have a willingness to go above and beyond in helping citizens and providing services to our community. So certainly compensation plays a role in this. Council has been incredibly supportive of that over the last several years, and we are now, in my opinion, in a much more competitive position with both our public safety and our general government salaries. We do, as council will recall, typically do a every other year deep dive look at general government, and then in the alternating year at public safety, just to make sure that we're keeping up with the market. In 2024, the focus was on general government, so we did a compensation study. We will have Tara, our people operations director, come in and give you all a full report on that in the next workshop. But the budget and the business plan does recommend continuing to implement the annual compensation plans. Again, every other year is general government, and then the other years are public safety. So 2025 would be a general government implementation year and a year for the study for civil service to be conducted. We're also recommending a few additional positions in people operations to help, which is formerly human resources, just to make sure everyone stays with me on that. I still call it HR most times, so I'm still learning, even though it was something that was important to me to adjust. So we are recommending 2 additional people operations generalists, as well as a training administrator and a training coordinator position, a total rewards assistant, which is really kind of our benefits retirement program, helping with that portion of our compensation package, and then a safety program specialist and a wellness coordinator in a future fiscal year. The plan also recommends an allocation of funding to develop a leadership succession plan, and in a future year as well, an employee development days conference that would allow us to provide additional training and development opportunities for all of our employees, including many of our frontline employees who don't traditionally have opportunities to seek training in other communities or states. Our next focus area is communication and collaboration. And our goal under that focus area is open and responsive communication with our community. I'm really proud to say that we have gone from an area that when we developed the 2019 strategic plan that you all identified as a weakness and a major opportunity for improvement, being our communication, both our communication with and back bi-directionally with our community, but also our communication with the broader state and broader world in terms of Temple as a place you love to call home in recruiting and attracting future residents and future businesses to locate here. So we've gone from what was practically a non-existent program to a multiple award-winning program through your support. And I think we've done a lot to continue to advance the ways in which our residents can communicate with us and we can reach them in community engagement, in public information, in destination marketing, and in cooperation and collaboration with our Economic Development Corporation, as well as our Chamber of Commerce in recruiting talent and businesses to our community. We do recommend that we continue to invest in communication as the plan progresses through the next 6 years. We do have a recommendation for a few additional positions in future years of the plan, including a marketing specialist, a community engagement specialist, a web designer, and then additional resources to provide additional advertising opportunities for services and programs that our departments provide. Our next focus area is places and spaces, and the first goal I want to talk about there is our beautiful spaces and unique experience goal. In our Parks and Recreation Department, we do have a continuation of the a recommendation for the continuation of the Parks Improvement Program that we established last year. Again, council will recall this is the program where we started with a $250,000 investment, and then we're going to grow that or recommend growing that over time until we reach an optimal funding level of $1.5 million each year to continue to invest in our parks program. So this would allow us to upgrade playgrounds, upgrade picnic shelters, upgrade other parks amenities each year. So not really talking about, establishing brand new parks, which would continue to likely be funded through a bond program, but having a way to systematically maintain the parks and the amenities at those parks that we currently have. This year, we're also recommending a new program very similar to that, but for our recreation side. So things, same concept, but for our recreational amenities. So our swimming pools, our splash pads, our recreation centers, so that we can have a program that has an annual investment in upgrading elements at the splash pads and pools and community centers, so that we also would start with an initial investment of $250 and then grow from there, so that both the recreation and parks areas have a routine improvement program fund to pull from. And I'm sorry, before I go from that side, we're also recommending some additional staffing in our parks department over the next several years, including several different maintenance tech positions. We're recommending a landscape spray technician and an irrigation technician, an additional forestry or tree trimming crew focused on our parks, and then 2 park inspector positions whose job duties would be to routinely go out to each park facility and make sure that everything is in safe and working condition, and if not, either fix it there on the spot or put in a work order if it's a larger repair job for one of our maintenance crews to come by and address that issue. So there'll be continuous eyes on our park system to make sure that they stay in top shape. We're also recommending a recreation specialist to, as an addition to our after-school programming on the rec side, as well as an additional assistant golf professional position. We're also recommending a food and beverage manager position at Salmons Club to go with the new expanded Salmons Clubhouse that is currently underway. That would be able to provide expanded food offerings once that new facility or expanded facility is ready to open next year. We continue to recommend the park ranger program be funded, which would consist of a lead park ranger as well as 3 park ranger positions, and this would help us enhance the safety of our park system. We're also recommending that time flies when you're having fun, but it is time to update our Parks and Open Space Master Plan. Our last plan was completed in 2020. It's recommended you do that every 5 or so years. So we are recommending actually in fiscal year 2026, so a little beyond the 5-year window, us to do an update to that plan. We're also recommending a museum master plan that would help us look at the museum that the city owns and operates, which is the Railroad and Heritage Museum, as well as museums that are operated by other nonprofits in our community, including the Temple Children's Museum, the Czech Heritage Museum, and other museum type assets to look at ways that we can support and improve access to museums, perhaps evaluate the creation of a museum district where we could do some co-location and efficiencies in services for those museums that are serving our community. The business plan also recommends that we allocate funding for the implementation of the special event strategic plan that you all adopted last year. As you'll recall, this features an iconic music festival event in September that would debut in September of 2025, as well as several other events throughout the year, including Airfest, Holly Jolly Christmas Time Festival. I think I got the name of that wrong. And then
Petals and Pines.
Petals and Pines. I was going to say Bloomin' Temple, but that's not right anymore. So funding is included in the business plan to implement those great new and expanded and enhanced events. We're also recommending that we continue our Heritage Arts and Tourism Partnership grants. This funding is available for community partners throughout Temple to apply for. That helps provide funding to support organizations that are providing arts and cultural and tourism type services. So think Cultural Activity Center, Temple Civic Theater, Temple Symphony Orchestra. This is the funding that we use to help support those very crucial organizations in our community. As council will recall, last year you adopted the updated library. Actually, I don't think it was updated, the new library master plan. And that plan had a few different recommendations related to capital improvements, notably improvements to the central branch or the downtown library branch, the only library at this point. So the business plan does include funding for schematic design so that we can more fully begin to flesh out what those improvements would be and understand what the budgetary impact for that would be in the future. And then the plan also recommended 3 branch libraries, one in the south portion of our community, one in the west portion, and one in the east. And so the business plan also recommends funding for the construction of those branch libraries. And then we anticipate that based on the timing we're proposing, that one of those branch libraries would be open and operational within the 6-year time frame. And so staffing, an allocation for staffing and equipping and purchasing books and material for that library is also recommended in the business plan. The second goal as part of Places and Spaces is neighborhoods where people love to live. And central to this goal is our Love Where You Live program. You all are very familiar with that. So I'll just say that the business plan continues to recommend that we fund these neighborhood master plans. You can see we're making great progress. You can see all of the ones that have been completed there on the left of the screen. There are still several more to go that are either underway or will be started within the 6-year timeframe of the business plan for our neighborhoods. And then, as council will recall, last year we also added strategic corridors. And so you'll see those on the far right-hand side of the screen. So no big changes proposed this year, just staying the course, continuing to fund this very successful and I think very important program. We're also recommending the continuation of all of the grant programs that we started last year, including our education and recreation partnership grants, our community enhancement grants. So these 2 grants are partnership grants with other nonprofit organizations that serve our community. So nonprofit groups can apply for funding for providing services that fit one of these 2 areas. Education and recreation is focused on providing opportunities, especially for areas and groups that might be underserved by existing programs. Community enhancement partnership grants provide for nonprofits to help, grants for nonprofits to help us with our goals around neighborhood improvement. And then we also have individual neighborhood improvement grants that are available to individual businesses and residents. Actually, Erin is going to give you a presentation at your next council workshop. She has finalized the recommendation and led that program. So that was something you funded this year for the first time. So you'll see that recommendation of what that program structure would be next council workshop. And this business plan just continues to recommend funding for that program. Also recommending funding to continue to support the Temple Revitalization Corporation. And then the continuation of our Places and Spaces Capital Improvement Program, which, as council knows, provides funding both for our parks and recreation projects, but also for projects that are coming out of our Love Where You Live neighborhood plans. And so 43 million in additional projects, that's not including the first 2 rounds of projects underway right now, but future projects are recommended in the business plan. Health and safety focus area, the goal is a healthy and safe community. So we have several different recommendations related to staffing in both our police and fire departments as part of the business plan. There's a total of 42 sworn police officer positions that are recommended to be added in the 6-year time period, and 10 civilian positions in the police department. So they're in these areas and to support these goals, to increase our patrol, which would allow us to add additional patrol districts and to shift from the hybrid system that we're operating under right now, which is 8 and 12-hour shifts, to 10-hour shifts, which is what we're moving towards as we continue to add staffing and fill our vacant positions. This would put additional patrol officers out in the community on a consistent basis. We're also recommending an enhancement to our neighborhood and district community policing program. So as you all know, you see these folks, we already have a vibrant and very successful and very visible community oriented policing program. This would add additional officers to that team to help expand their presence within our neighborhoods and our business districts. And we're also recommending the final phase of our violent crime enforcement squad. When I was putting this presentation together, Mike, I thought about you, and I thought, I think we started that back when you were on council previously. So hopefully soon we stop saying the last phase and we actually finish it up. We're also recommending additional positions in our criminal investigations unit. So we're recommending a full second property crimes investigation squad. We're also, which would consist of 6 police officer positions and 1 additional sergeant for supervision of that new team. We're also recommending a crime scene supervisor position to manage our crime scene investigator team. We are recommending a forensic electronic investigator position. I think that's it on that one. I was thinking of one more, but just those 2. Where this is, and I think I left off my new tag, but this is new this year, school resource officer expansion. You probably heard that the state passed some legislation in the last session that required school districts to provide more school safety resources in all of their campuses. And while the legislation did give schools the choice in how they implement that, they can do that in a variety of ways. Both Belton and Temple ISD superintendents have indicated to us, both to me and to Chief, that it is their desire that they move into a position where all of their campuses are covered by a uniformed and sworn Temple police officer, at least the campuses that are physically within the city of Temple city limits. So this is not a overnight thing. This involves, I believe, 16 total additional school resource officer positions and an additional supervisor position. So that's not financially feasible for the districts to add overnight. So they've asked us to work with them on stepping in those resources over the next several years. So the business plan does reflect the commitment to continue to work with our 2 main school districts in that manner. And then the business plan also recommends 2 training officer positions be added, which would be tasked with staffing the new public safety training center that is underway currently. We also have recommendations for additional animal services positions, including 3 animal services field officers and 2 additional shelter technicians. We were able to add this current year in FY24. We were able to accelerate some of the positions and add them this year, but we do still have several additional that we're recommending in future years. We're also recommending some additional funding for veterinarian support so that we can expand our spay and neuter programming and our microchipping program for animals at our shelter. And thank Chief Reynolds for his leadership in that. And for our fire department, we have a total of 56 new sworn firefighter positions that are recommended in the 6-year period and 7 civilian positions. So I'm sorry, I skipped the so the first priority there is in staffing 2 additional squad units. So we have 2 of these already within our response capacity. We're recommending 2 additional be added. So the squad vehicle is represented by that smaller unit on the right side of the screen. We staff that with 2 personnel, a driver and a firefighter position. These units are housed at existing fire stations. So what they do is they help us enhance coverage and the reliability of the coverage provided at that station. So we seek to place these at stations that are either very busy, which is where the current 2 are placed, so that when the main engine is out on a call, there's an additional unit that can respond to a second or subsequent call in that district. And these 2 additional units are recommended for growth corridors in our community where we're seeing lots of growth and where future fire stations will likely be added. But as we prepare for that in the interim, we're recommending adding these additional companies to those existing fire stations so that enhances the reliability and the accessibility of responses from those stations. So this would be at Station 4, which is on Waters Ferry, and Station 7, I believe, maybe 5, but either 5 or 7. 5 is the one on Apache, and 7 is the one on West Adams.
Is there room to add the
Yes.
squad at Waters Dairy?
Yes.
Really? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. And that one is important because of all the growth that we're seeing in South
Absolutely.
Temple.
Very.
Chief and David and I just had a meeting last week about fire station locations, which we'll talk about here in a second, but that is an area that is absolutely going to need a future fire station investment. And until such time as we've got that built and staffed, the growth in that area really does warrant having an additional company able to respond out of that station. The next priority is related to creating 2 separate response districts within the community. So right now we only have 1 battalion chief on duty at any given time. So that chief is responsible for all of the companies within the city right now. And we're growing to the point with 8 stations, and several of our stations have multiple companies at them. We're growing to the point where that span of control is just too broad. And so we are recommending that we break the community down into 2 response districts, which essentially means we would have 2 battalion chiefs on duty for each shift, 1 roughly serving the west of I-35 and 1 east of I-35 and responsible for those stations and companies located in that geographic area. So this would be a total of 6 additional sworn positions, 3 battalion chiefs, 1 for each shift, and then 3 safety and accountability drivers positions as well. The current battalion chief is stationed out of Central, and we are recommending that when Station 9 is built, which we will talk about here in just a second, that the 2nd battalion chief be stationed out of Station 9, and that station be built with a little bit more space than a typical station might be in order to accommodate those additional administrative staff positions. We're also recommending additional resources in our fire prevention and education focus area, including an additional deputy fire marshal position. Council will recall that we added a deputy fire marshal position this year. It was much needed. Landy, our assistant chief who's over this area, was wearing many hats, if you may recall from last year's budget retreat. He is the primary person who does all of our fire plan reviews for planning and development, as well as the primary fire marshal for inspections. And so we were able to add some resources there this current year, and we are still recommending some additional resources in future years. So 2 additional deputy fire marshal positions, and then a new request this year, a new proposal is an additional fire education position. So you all may, hopefully, I think you all are familiar with Buzzy. Coach Buzzy is our fire specialist. His focus is primarily on educating young people and general community members. And so the second fire prevention specialist, our goal would be that they would be very much focused in our industrial park area, and their specialty and their assignment would be in really getting to know each individual business in our industrial parks and really getting a good relationship with them, so that we have a good ability to respond in the event of fire, other emergency, because those situations are very unique and different than just, your typical traditional single family or standard commercial building. We're also recommending 2 additional training officer positions in the fire department, very similar to what we just talked about in police. As we finish up our expansion of our public safety training facility, these positions would provide the staffing to that facility and to be able to operate it and offer the robust training and education that that facility will now house. We're also recommending that we increase the number of rover or floater firefighter positions in order to continue to maintain our minimum staffing coverage, while our frontline firefighters might be out on leave for holiday or vacation, sick leave, training, medical leave, military leave, any number of reasons that they may not be on duty. There needs to be a person who backfills that spot, because we need to have our minimum level of staffing covered at all times. At my request, Chief Randalls did a comprehensive review of our minimum staffing this past year, and so we are recommending some additional staffing to help us bring down overtime. So we add positions, but it will be offset in part by reduction in the need to pay overtime to people having to be called in for additional shifts to cover positions that are on leave. And then I believe finally, we are also recommending that we move from a 3-member company for our ladder trucks to a 4-member company. Ladder truck, when a ladder truck arrives on a scene, it just takes a little bit more effort. It's got a little bit more tasks to be set up than an engine or a pumper. And so we feel that having 4 personnel assigned to a ladder truck will enhance the response time and safety of the community. And so right now we do have 3 truck companies. And with Station 9, we will have a 4th. And so this would put 4 per shift on each of those 4 truck companies. And then last, but certainly not least, we are recommending that we build Fire Station number 9, which would be in West Temple. And that is recommended in the financial plan, as well as the acquisition of land for a number of additional fire stations. So what we'd like to do is site, make sure we have the property for future fire station locations. Go ahead and get those secured and acquired. But we do believe that it's definitely time that fire station number 9 is needed to be built. So the financial plan and the business plan recommends both the building of the fire station, but also the staffing and the equipping of that station. And so that would be a total of 15 additional firefighter positions for that station.
Is the land acquired? Do we have that land for 9?
We are recommending a piece of property that we already own
Okay.
for 9, and we would, I'd like to do an in-depth presentation for you all soon on what we're thinking about for future fire station locations, because there's needs in East Temple, in South Temple, and in North Temple. So in addition to West, so all in everyone's district, we need to have some conversations. So, but yes, ma'am, where we're recommending number 9, we do have that that parcel acquired already. And then the $68 million capital improvement program for public safety is recommended. This includes that fire station we just talked about, as well as the expansion of our public safety training center, as well as the purchasing of additional and replacement apparatus. We're also recommending additional code compliance resources. So we have 4 additional code compliance officer positions recommended. And in the financial plan, as well as 2 positions to provide staffing for the new proposed resource hub community center. And those are in future years once that facility has been constructed. We're also recommending the continued implementation of the mental health and homelessness plan, strategic plan that we adopted last year. Including funding for the first phase of construction of Arbor of Hope. And again, as council will recall, our proposal is for us to contract with a nonprofit to provide the management of that facility, but the city would provide the funding for the construction of the first phase. And then last, but certainly not least, smart growth. Infrastructure and systems that support exceptional services and community growth. I thought maybe this year would be the year that I could stop saying this is the largest capital improvement program in the history of the community, but alas, it is not. It's still growing. So $524 million in projects are underway as we speak, which is incredible. And I always say this, but it makes me tired for Richard and his team, just looking at the slide. Those are in a variety of areas, including the reinvestment zone funded projects, our utility and mobility, facility equipment, our places and spaces, and then some other projects, including drainage and land acquisition. But if that wasn't enough for you, when you look at the 6-year plan, and I couldn't quite get it to 600 million. So we may have to revisit that between now and adoption. But just shy of $600 million in additional capital improvement programs. And again, you can see the breakout there. Very heavy in utilities. We have some major plant upgrades you heard about. Temple Belton today from Richard and from Colton. Dozier is also in need of upgrades. Places and spaces, our mobility master plan is continuing to be implemented through capital projects, public safety, which we've talked a little bit about, facilities and equipment. To keep up with all of those projects, we are recommending some additional project management resources. So including an additional project engineer for fiscal year 25, 1 additional in a future year, and then also a transportation engineer position.
See, 610 in 25, next year's budget.
Yeah. And then we have $86 million in mobility related projects recommended in the 6-year time frame. We're recommending that we continue our pavement preservation program. If council recall, this is the funding that we started actually 3 years ago, I think now, And we're up to $750,000 in annual allocation, and that is continuing to grow until we get to our optimal funding level of 1.5 million. This funds both our overlay program as well as our more preventative maintenance program, which is our slurry seal, is what we've been very successful at seeing the last 2 years. And I've heard really good feedback from that program. It was very needed. And so I'm pleased with it. I hope you are too. And we are continuing to recommend that be priority in funding. We're also recommending a total of 6 additional transportation or mobility related crews, a right-of-way and pavement marking crew, an additional street patching crew, an additional forestry or tree trimming crew, a right-of-way alley focus crew, a sign crew, and then an additional street reconstruction crew. We're also recommending that we continue to fund our enhanced transit services through our participation in the Hill Country Transit District. That new on-demand rideshare program which is called a micro transit program, is going into effect here in the next couple of months. So we'll begin to see that available to our community. And so the business plan recommends that we continue to fund that program and perhaps even enhance it in the future. We can talk more about transit too. I have asked the HOP to come give you all an update on the implementation of that system. So we're queuing them up for a workshop. And as Mike is very aware, there's lots going on with transition at the HOP right now that we can update you on as well. But the implementation of the microtransit system is moving forward. And it's already been implemented on Fort Cavazos to great reception. It's going well there. And so it'll be implemented in the other communities here in the next month or two. And then we have almost $300 million in utility related projects, as well as 7 new utility maintenance crews. 4 of those are on the water side, 3 of them on the wastewater side, to help continue to maintain our system. We're also recommending 2 additional water operators at the membrane treatment plant, 2 additional utility services director positions, and some environmental program service staff additions as well. While not part of utility services, I'll mention it here while I'm on this slide. We also have a few positions in our metering department, including a metering crew leader, 2 meter technicians, and a meter technician apprentice that's recommended for funding in the 6-year plan. And then solid waste. So lots of additional routes planned for our growing community. We have 4 new garbage routes, 4 new recycling routes. Those are both residential, 3 roll-off routes, an additional brush and bulk route, and then 2 additional commercial front load routes recommended to be added. So those are additional routes. So you'll see both the staffing for those routes as well as the equipment purchases. Because we're seeing such long lead times now, long lead times now for solid waste trucks, we are beginning to budget the trucks before we budget the position, so that hopefully by the time that the position is funded, we'll have the truck to be able to operate. We do expect the trucks that we ordered last year to be here in September. And so we do have an expectation that some new garbage routes will be able to be started at that point. And then litter crew in our solid waste division is also continued to be recommended. And then I think last but certainly not least, a city that supports well-managed growth and development. We do have several additional positions recommended in our development services team, including an additional building inspector positions, 3 of them, a planning manager position, an office assistant position, and then also a business navigator position, which is a new program that is proposed to help increase support to small, mid-sized and startup businesses to help them navigate and open successfully for business in the city of Temple. We also recommend continuing our longstanding successful partnership with the Temple Economic Development Corporation through continuing to fund their organization to provide incentive negotiation and marketing services for the city. So the total proposed budget is just over $274 million, and that's inclusive of all funds. Just a quick snapshot of the two largest funds, general fund and water and wastewater fund. You can see sales tax in the general fund continues to be our largest single source of revenue. And while the growth has slowed in that funding source, it still is a incredibly important area of funding to help us provide all of the services and programs we just talked about. You can see on the expense side that personnel continues to be the #1 expense category. And again, that is because we are a service-based organization, and what we do is we provide services through people. On our water and wastewater fund, the vast majority, almost all of the revenue comes from rates, both on the water and wastewater side. Again, we do not have impact fees, so all of the funding, all of the revenue for all of the projects and crews, both operating and capital, comes from rates that are charged to residential and commercial industrial businesses on a monthly basis. This proposed business plan and the annual budget that's incorporated as in it is based on an estimated property tax rate of 62.67 cents. Which is made up of a maintenance and operation rate of 29.57 cents, which is an increase from last year of 2.87 cents. A debt or interest and sinking rate of 33.10 cents, which is a reduction of 1.5 cents from last year, which offsets the increase in the maintenance and operation rate for a total recommended tax rate increase of 1.37 cents. Council knows this, but I'll just remind you that this is based on a preliminary tax roll. We will receive our certified tax roll by the end of this month, by July 25th. At that time, we'll be able to make any adjustments that may be warranted to that estimated tax rate. But as always, Tracy and her team does a fantastic job of getting us pretty close. We usually have to make some tweaks once we get the actual roll. But that is in the ballpark of where we think we're going to be. Tonight, you do have an action item related to the budget. You're not being asked to adopt it, so that's the good news. You have a lot more time to review this, and I am biased, but I do think it's a beautiful document that you have here in front of you. So please take the time over the next few weeks to look through and ask any questions, either individually of me or Tracy, or if you want anything at all set up for a deeper dive in a workshop, we'll go through. We already have some additional presentations planned, but if there's anything that piqued your interest or that you have more questions on, please let me know and we'll get that set for a specific workshop update for you. But tonight's action item is on scheduling the public hearing on the city's proposed budget. So that's a pretty straightforward agenda item. We do have several more workshops planned where we'll go into more detail on certain items. Again, if you have something that you're interested in hearing more about, please let me know and we will prepare a presentation on it. As you've noticed, there's not, and we've talked about previously, there's not a ton of brand new stuff in here. You know, this is mostly staying the course from where we've been. Which is, not a bad thing. I think we've set out a very achievable and realistic plan. So, not much, hopefully not much surprised you in there. It's some stuff that you've heard about and we've been working on in some cases for several years. But again, if there is something that you're interested in hearing more about or going into more detail, just let us know and we'll get that set up. We are scheduled to adopt the budget on August 15th of this year. Other important dates include, August 1st, and these are all, regular meetings, so you won't, we are not needing to do any special meetings this year. So these public hearings and workshops will all be part of special meetings, unless, of course, you all want a separate, budget workshop meeting, and then we can certainly, accommodate that. So we will have a public hearing on the budget next workshop, or next council meeting on the 18th. And then we'll have another one on the tax rate on August 15th, on the day that you consider adopting the budget. On August 1st, during that workshop, we'll have any updates that we need to provide you based on receiving the certified tax roll. And if you have any questions, I do want to mention several people by name, and that's important to me because the work that this does on this, what culminates in this document, but guides so very much of what we do as an organization is really remarkable, and that's something that I deeply appreciate, and I know that you all do too. So Tracy's team really does the heavy lifting. I do want to thank all of the departments for their hard work on their budget submission. They're ultimately the ones who need to tell us what they need in order to accomplish what you've asked them and what we've tasked them to do. But Tracy and her team really make the magic happen. So I do want to thank Tracy, Melissa Probilski, her assistant director, Jennifer Emerson and Sherry Pogar are rock stars and really the cornerstone of the budget process. They spend long nights and many weekends in doing this work, and they do it with that heart for service that we've talked about today. And it's really it's fun to watch, and and they're very good at what they do, and I'm deeply appreciative of them. But there's a whole team in the department that I think is even more and more picking up more and more of the process, and as we get more as our organization grows, as what we're doing becomes more complex. Tracy's team has really stood up and taken on to the task, and really I think probably her entire team has at least a role to play. But I do want to say a special thank you to Stacy Reisner, to Jess Martin, to Veronica Hernandez, to Joanne Herrera, to Krista Shepard, and to Laura Ty. All of those folks are in Tracy on Tracy's team. I do want to also say thank you to Stacy Hawkins. Stacy has taken on the role of leading the strategic plan update, and I am really pleased with how that process went. I think we did a great job of engaging with the community. I was looking through some pictures today that I hadn't seen before, and it was we got a lot of feedback from a lot of great community members who I think really helped us make sure that we were on the right track in where we were heading with the organization. So that was a lot of heavy lifting to do an update, and she's short-staffed now because Christine Liao left us. So she did all of that almost single-handedly, and I really appreciate that. This book is aesthetically beautiful, and the content I think is incredibly easy to comprehend, to read, to digest. And it's one of those things, it's kind of like a water line. Like, as long as it's in the ground and working, and you don't even kind of appreciate when you can read something and it's easy to read and it's easy to follow. You don't necessarily, consciously say, oh, that was, but it takes a lot of work to get, especially some very complicated financial information, into a format and into a document that is accessible to any member of the community. And I want to say that I think that Heather Bates, and in particular on her team, Ariel Delaray, who is our creative services manager, did an exceptional job. They did a wholesale update to the format of the plan this year, which I think looks fantastic. I have my very first budget was 2004. So this is 21 years of this. And I have always want, there's this thing called the Government Finance Officers Association, and they have an award program for distinguished budget presentation. And Tracy has always won it. And it's wonderful. And I am extremely proud of that. But there's two special, like, additional awards that you can get kind of under that distinction. One being for your capital program, and one being really for like your performance measures. And I tell you what, if this doesn't win those two awards, I don't know. I think I'm just retiring, because I don't know what else is possible. They have just done an incredible job with this book. And then you'll hear from Tara and her team as we deep dive into compensation. Again, that's so important to attracting and retaining our workforce, which really is the ones who provide the services to our community. But they've done a lot of heavy lifting in doing the compensation study that's recommended here in our business plan. And so Tara herself does an incredible job with that. Heather Kirkwood, Elena Smith, and Annalise Thompson are all really sharp and really sharp women over there in people operations, and they have done an incredible job. I have hired, I think, maybe 4 different companies to do consulting companies to do compensation studies. I've literally fired one in the middle of it because it was so poor. I almost fired another one. I mean, I don't have to worry about that anymore, though, because we can do that in-house better than any paid team I've ever seen in my life. So that is the team that has done an incredible amount of work on this business plan. I am happy to be in the same room with them.
You're talking about HR?
Yes.
New name,
Yes.
that which you keep, yeah.
You're HR.
I keep getting, the same
I
as you
know,
do.
I do.
No, it's,
Maybe next year.
you know. HR is HR.
Yeah.
I just need to know what their abbreviation is. It's hard to say, people operation.
PO.
Yeah.
PO, is it PO? Is that what they
Oh.
settled on?
Communications and marketing calls them the pod.
The pod?
Yes, that may help.
You know,
People operations department.
TML calls them pops, calls their
Oh,
department pops, people ops.
POS.
I like that.
Exactly.
Just see how confused you can get.
I think they need to pick one and then put it out so we all know that.
Yes, HR.
I feel like communications and collaboration is like your first grandchild. Whatever they name you is like your name.
Yeah.
So they're the cool people. So whatever your name is, whatever Lindsay calls you,
That's true.
that's your name. And she has one for everyone.
Ooh, that's dangerous.
That is, I don't know that I want to know what we are.
I think she stole it from you. I think she calls, what's yours, Tracy? Is it Moneybags?
I think so.
I think she stole it from Susan.
Yeah.
What are you, the Grand Poobah?
Money bags. Said with
I
Roger.
actually rejected my first one. I was like, that is so boring. And I can't even remember what it is now. So I had to send them back to I think they call me the B word.
Call you what?
Oh.
Yeah.
Just
With love, though, with love. Yeah.
Grin, the queen bee, something like that. I'm sure it stands for Bryn.
It certainly does. Of course it does. Thank you. We appreciate that.
And I know I'm always optimistic that I'm gonna talk less about the budget, but I never do. I think that we are okay to forgo the session. So everybody can have a bathroom break before regular session, unless you guys are just super excited. It is exciting, but we'll bring it back.
Okay, are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, all right, then I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn the workshop at 10:05. And convene the meeting of the Civil City Council in the council chambers.